Dialers. You've probably heard of the auto dialers of the world. I actually come from the call center world. So, this is maybe a decade and a half ago. One of the things that I did as a marketing director for a construction company was I started an outbound call center. And the first thing that we set up the reps on was an automated dialer. So that experience was them sitting at a cube, literally 30 seconds or less between live conversations. So as soon as they hung up, they were talking to another person in about 30 seconds. And a lot of the B2B landscape has adopted that in the last 3 or 4 years, where we're using auto dialers. And what we're going to talk about today is why auto dialers are probably not the answer to your cold calling problem. Before we get to that, my name's Jason. You're listening to Outbound Squad. We're all about helping you turn complete strangers into paying customers. So if you're a sales leader and you're thinking, hey, how do I get my AEs to self-source more pipeline? How do I get my reps to pick up the phone more? How do I get my reps to be more strategic and maybe land meetings with execs? And maybe we're trying to pivot most of the organization to be more outbound focused. You're definitely in the right place. So today we're going to dig into this is sort of a hot take. We've had a lot of sponsors in the past that sell these types of solutions. And one of the things that we've started to recognize is that a dialer is actually not a very good option for most of the customers that we work with. And it's probably not a good option for you either. So we're going to talk about why dialers are not great solutions for the most part. And the second thing that we're going to dig into is um, when it does make sense to use one, and when the ROI might be there. And we're also going to give you an option for something that you can do instead to fix the cold calling problem. So without further ado, let's get to the episode.
So, Jason, when I was selling outreach, I was talking to sales and marketing leaders day in and day out. And they would say to me, as an objection, you know what, Clara, I just think instead of getting a sales engagement platform, which helps promote like when my rep should call and maybe it scripts out the intro of the call, I think I'm going to get a power dialer instead.
Yeah.
That will solve my problem because our connect rates are so low. We just have to make more dials, and making sure that it's automated is a way to make it really easy on my reps. They almost 90 to 95% of the time would come back and be like, that did not solve my problem. Some, it
Yeah.
made it even worse, right?
Yep.
So talk to me about your hot take. I know you've used dialers.
Mm-hmm.
I know that we have supported teams who have also explored options when their connection rates are not increasing even after they've implemented all of these enablement frameworks. So talk to me a
Yep.
little bit about your hot take when it comes to power dialers.
Yeah. So if we think about why people even choose to use a dialer, there's the biggest bottleneck with cold calling right now is, people like back when you were selling outreach, back when we started Outbound Squad, the pickup rate was 12 to 15%. Like people actually picked up the phone. Um, Prior to COVID, a lot of people were in office too, so you could call someone at their extension. So we've kind of rattled our brains a little bit and thought, well, how do we fix that problem? And there's kind of two ways to look at it. One, you can just overcome the problem with volume. So you can say, hey, the contact rate right now, the connect rate's about 5%. So I have to call, 20 people to make contact with one person. What if I could dial 200 people in the same amount of time and get a hold of 4, 5, 6 people, right? That's what a dialer does. It's just accelerating the volume. The massive con with a dialer, and this is what we saw with one of our clients. They're an enterprise BDR team that sells into cybersecurity. They sell digital certificates. So they're selling to a very sophisticated enterprise security buyer, your CISOs, your VPs of security, et cetera. They had really low connect rates, so 5% and below. Reps weren't having enough conversations, and they started using a dialer. And in 3 months, they saw a massive spike in 3 months. And then about 2 or 3 months in, the connect rates were less than 1%. So they just blasted through their entire TAM. And what they didn't know was happening is that these dialers, it's really crazy, these phone companies. So if you have T-Mobile, AT&T, Verizon, what they're
Mm-hmm.
really good at detecting, just like your Gmail and Outlook account, is fishy, spammy behavior, and then it starts to show up as spam on your phone. So when you dial more than 15, 20 people from a line and you're doing things like hanging up before the voicemail even picks up, that's really suspicious behavior. that number will be flagged as spam. And it might even go straight to voicemail in a lot of these. So that's the number one risk that you take using a dialer. And this is what our client saw, is that the connect rate gets cut in half or more. TitanX did a really big study, and we're not sponsored by TitanX. They have a solution that can help fix this, but what they found is that within 90 days, your connect rate it's going to decrease by about half. The second thing is the conversion rate. So Clara picks up the phone, I talk with you, and then you book a meeting with me. That conversion rate will drop by 30+% on average. Do you know why that is?
Tell me.
So think about like when you're calling with a dialer, and I should probably talk about the different types of dialers, but when you're calling with an auto dialer, it's literally dialing 10, 15 phone lines at a given time. So when people inevitably will pick up at the same time, it hangs up one of those calls. And it's
Wow.
happening so fast that there's a delay. So if you picked up the phone, I don't hear you say hello. I just hear a little beep, and I just have to start talking. So if anyone has ever had the experience of picking up the phone and there being a 2, 3 second delay, most people will hang up
Yeah.
at that point. They understand what's going on. So the conversion rate's lower because of that. The second thing is, could you imagine calling our buyers, like our VPs of sales and CROs, on an auto dialer, and it happening so quickly you don't have enough time to like really frame the conversation or think about why you're reaching out, or like you have to wing the conversation. It has to be generic.
No, because half of dialing is a mindset thing. And if I'm
Yep.
in a state of panic, hoping someone picks up the phone and then I get a connect and I don't even know exactly who it is, like, ugh,
Yeah.
causes
Yeah.
me
So it
more
just pops
anxiety.
up on the screen. It's, Clara Johnson, head of sales, et cetera. It doesn't, like, I don't have a chance to just kind of quickly gather my thoughts and look at your LinkedIn profile real quick and be like, okay, cool. She's in Denver. It's mountain time. She's head of sales. They have a couple hundred reps. Okay, cool. Like, you don't have that time to gather yourself. So the conversion rate suffers dramatically. And what they found in that study is that it really cuts your TAM by about 40%. So when you take into consideration all the people you don't get a hold of, plus the lack of conversions, you're cutting your TAM by 40%. So there's two things that we did with this client that I think are good takeaways. One is, using something like a Titan X that you can give it phone numbers, and what their solution will do is work on the back end and say, hey, here's 1,000 people you want to get a hold of. Here are 300 to pick up the phone the most. I did this about 3 weeks ago myself. I talked to 9 sales executives in an hour off of 30 calls. It was bananas, just calling through my phone. There were so many people I was talking to, Clara, that I was like, I felt mentally fatigued. 45 minutes in, I was like, I don't want to talk to anyone anymore. Like,
You're like nine is a good
good,
number. I'm ready to, throw the towel in today.
good, yeah. Um, so that was big. And then the other thing we did was just really double down on rep effectiveness in the first 60 seconds.
Mm.
So the big flip here and the big takeaway is, instead of them talking about certificates in the calls, which is what everyone wants to do, and a lot of the customers, a lot of the people they were calling into were existing customers that were, um, you know, doing the PLG thing. They were buying through the website, and these were people they wanted to upgrade into the enterprise packages. So it's a warmer call for sure. But instead of talking about certificates, what we talked to them about doing was using the reverse pitch. And the idea behind the reverse pitch is, when I get someone on the phone, I want to demonstrate as quickly as possible that I understand their world and their challenges. Like, that's the best way to build credibility and to earn the next minute or two. So that sounded something more like, hey, I talked to a lot of security leaders, and we keep hearing a really big focus right now on automation and PKI modernization specifically. So they're using manual spreadsheet driven tracking of certificates, and it's keeping them from being more strategic with resources. All their folks are just like stuck in spreadsheets. How does that compare to your day to day? So just really thinking with your team, what are the core problems that we solve, and what are the core problems that our buyers experiencing, and then opening your call with those things. That's the other piece. If the connect rate's lower, you have to be better on the phone at converting it into a meeting as well. And we saw a 20+% increase in quarter over quarter opportunities created. I just caught up with this client too not too long ago, and like a year after, they're still seeing really good results.
So
So
awesome.
dialers are a no-no.
Yeah. And technology is not always the solution to the problems that we have, right? We got to
Yep.
dig in, diagnose, and from that diagnosis, then go coach and refine our strategy.